Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and I'm here today to bring you guys my thoughts on Homefront: The Revolution's cooperative beta. The beta is live right now on the Xbox One. They've also been doing small stress tests over the past couple weeks that I've been able to participate in, so I've been able to sink quite a few hours into the beta. And I have to remember, this is just the cooperative component of the game. We're not beta testing the single player. This is the 4-player cooperative mode, which I've been very much looking forward to giving a go. I loved the idea that they were throwing co-op into the mix. I love the idea of building my own freedom fighter, sort of engaging in guerrilla warfare tactics, and seeing what they could really bring to the table with this mode, and also getting my hands on Homefront: The Revolution as a whole, actually feeling the gunplay, the mechanics, you know, seeing the visual quality, the performance of it on the Xbox One, because of course that's the type of thing that's going to carry across all of the different game modes, whether you're in the single player or in the multiplayer. Now, this game is coming out May 20th of this year. They've got about 4 months to do any tweaks or fixes after the beta is set and over with to help bring it up to par for launch day. I have to say, I don't think that's going to happen. In fact, I think this game is going to do rather poorly, and that upsets me. I've been cautiously optimistic about Homefront. I've really been hopeful that the developers could pull together what has been a really rough development cycle, a lot of corporate changes and issues, and make a game that can at least be a solid and fun experience. But right now, as it stands, what I played in the beta, and I'm not just talking about the way that the cooperative gameplay works, I actually think there's a lot of great stuff going on with the gameplay mechanics, as we'll talk about in a second, but the overall polish of the game, the overall feel of the game is just not there. It feels exceptionally rough around the edges. I mean, it's worse than rough around the edges. It's like it's missing a couple limbs here and there. It just doesn't feel good. And some of the biggest issues lie within the actual shooting mechanics, the first-person shooting mechanics, the motion of the player. It all just feels like you're walking through sludge. It does not feel good. It does not feel satisfying to engage enemies. Weapon recoil animations are just not... It feels rough. I mean, this is a first-person shooter. You have to remember that. You're going to be shooting people a lot. That element of the game needs to feel good. It needs to feel satisfying to the player to engage enemies, to fire their weapon. If it doesn't, you know, the game is going to have to try and hold itself up in other places. And that's a difficult thing to do when you're a first-person shooter. You can't just expect some of the gameplay mechanics, like the crafting and, you know, the guerrilla warfare tactics things, to hold up bad gunplay in a first-person shooter where gunplay is essentially king. Before we talk any more about the negatives, before we get into, you know, the fact this is on CryEngine and a lot of the issues that I see with the game, let's talk about some of the positives with the actual co-op gameplay. Like, what is the point of the cooperative mode in Homefront? The idea is that you get to build a freedom fighter from scratch, and then you get to team up with other freedom fighters, whether they be your friends or random people in matchmaking, and head out on these individual missions across Philadelphia. Some of the missions are going to be larger scale than others, but all of them trying to give you a sense of control and freedom in how you engage the situation. There's actually a stealth mechanic, so you can hide from KPA. You don't have to instantly go into an attack, although some missions will require it. You do have the opportunity to dodge patrols, to evade them. There's a whole slew of tech equipment that you can use that is based around the character leveling and skill tree system. So, for example, I can hack some KPA drones or unmanned vehicles. I can craft explosive devices, Molotov cocktails, healing equipment, all of this tied to the character skill trees, of which there are 4 you can spend points in. So as you level up, you'll unlock experience, which you can put into those different skill trees to make you more effective with firearms, more effective with explosives. Maybe you want to make your character a little bit more tanky. Maybe you want to make them better at healing. You can do all of those things, and I totally dig that. You also have the character customization system, so you have the ability to unlock different wearable items to change their visual appearance, just purely cosmetics, backpacks and scarves and hats and goggles and gas masks and so on and so forth. And then you have the weapon customization system. So you have base firearms that can then be modified to have different red dot sights, different foregrips. On top of that, as you unlock different firearms, you'll notice that certain firearms are based off of similar models. So for example, the M4, which you're seeing me use as an LMG here, are the same base model. So I can actually change the receiver type on my standard M4 assault rifle and turn it into a 5.56 LMG. I can then put attachments on top of that. You can take the marksman rifle, which is like a DMR, and change the receiver so it's bolt action. I like that system. It means you can be a little bit more versatile and you can adapt to the situation at hand. It fits in with the guerrilla warfare, the sort of freedom fighters theme. I love that. I'm on board for that 100%. Now, as you complete missions, you're going to earn money. You're going to use that cash to buy crates. Crates are how you unlock all the cosmetic items, all the weapon attachments, as well as the different weapons themselves. I don't care much for this system. I don't care much for the whole idea that everybody's obsessed with these cards and crates as of recently. What happened to a good old progression system? I know everyone thinks like, well, you know, it's time to change the progression system. Okay, well, only change it if you're going to do something better with it. Don't do these lottery things. There's nothing I hate more than a lottery in a progression game. Like if I go out, you know, as a freedom fighter and I'm engaging all these guys, I don't want to have to head back home and then randomly open a crate and see what kind of weapon I can find in it. You know, I want to be able to build my character around my play style, especially when they're pushing for these RPG elements. Like, this is your freedom fighter. Okay, well then why do I have to randomly stumble across a light machine gun just to get my hands on one? I don't want to do that. I want to be able to say, this is the character I want to build, this is the type of equipment I want to use. I'm okay with you still having me unlock it, but don't make it be through some random lottery. Not to mention, they've already started talking about microtransactions to purchase these kits to unlock the stuff, and that's just going to turn into a disaster. It's a bad decision on their part, and it's a poor way of trying to extend the replayability and the life of the cooperative mode by forcing people to open crates to gain access to different equipment. Not on board with that. So that starts to sway into the negative side of it, right? So at its core, guerrilla warfare, the freedom fighter theme, it's there, right? It's not perfect, but I feel it. I like pushing through these different mission objectives. There are actually moments in these mission objectives where you're forced to abandon an area. So it's not all about just killing all of the enemies in the area. The KPA can overwhelm you and you'll be forced to retreat. Okay, retreat to this location on the map, they'll tell you. Help these other guys in our, in our cause, help these other freedom fighters, and then we're going to move forward here. We're going to draw them into us. We're going to blow up this building to destroy them so they can't follow us anymore. Like, there's some great stuff going on with the mission design. There really is. The problem is, none of that can save bad gunplay, bad animations, just poor audio design, atrocious AI. I mean, the AI in this is absolutely pathetic. You've got snipers, right? Who they put giant laser sights on their sniper rifles. I hate when games do this. It's such a terrible way of trying to convey to the player that there's snipers around. Like, to be honest, when I'm playing a first-person shooter, I'd rather have the sniper be someone who's concealed, I get engaged by him, and then my team has to do a small search to actually hunt down his location. Not this idea where there's 5 or 6 of these guys all on the same rooftop with laser sights, just standing there like idiots while I shoot them. You know what the enemies in this game do when you shoot them when they're behind cover? They go behind cover for 1 more second, and then they pop back up again. They don't relocate, they don't change their tactics. This is a game where the KPA is supposed to be like the ultimate threat to you. You're telling me America was taken over by a bunch of snipers that don't even know how to relocate their position when they're engaged by an enemy? That was taken over by a bunch of dudes with 10 times the military power of a bunch of freedom fighters, and yet they decide to hide behind the exact same barrel over and over while I fire rounds at their head? I was really hoping the AI would be an important part of this game. It would be something they use to make sure that these cooperative experiences, plus the single player stuff, you know, felt interesting. It always felt organic when you went into an environment, when you went into an encounter. If this just ends up being the situation where all these guys are just constantly on patrol in different areas and that's the furthest their intelligence goes, it's all going to get very old very quickly. And like I said, at the core, you've got a poor set of weapon handling animations. The weapon handling itself feels atrocious. Everything feels sludgy and slow. It's all just so blah right now. And that's upsetting, you know, because I think the theme is there. I love what they're doing with the theme in the game. I think, despite the fact that this looks like a very outdated CryEngine game, like, I don't know, you wouldn't think this was running on CryEngine, let's just put it that way. And the biggest thing is, like, I know this is an Xbox, this is Xbox One, right? This is what they're going for, it's Xbox One. Like, this should be the game where it's looking best, because they have a partnership with Microsoft, where they're pushing out the, you know, the beta early on this platform only, and it's just... So there's no excuse to say, like, oh, the PC version will just look better. No, I don't believe the PC version will look that much better. Yes, you'll probably have better frame rates, and that's just, you know, that's a continued issue with this game. The frame rate is so poorly... It's so poor. We're talking easily. It's never locked. It never feels like it's locked. It never feels like it's anywhere near 30 FPS. And again, this is a first-person shooter. Frame rates are so incredibly important. Now, I know that's something they could polish, they could probably push out by the time they get to May, but the rest of the stuff, there's just too many issues with this game. I don't know that they can bring them all together to make it a worthwhile experience. And at that core, really for me, is the gunplay. It's all about that gunplay. The beta is filled with bugs, all these small issues. There's revive bugs, there's, you know, weapons disappearing. That's the kind of stuff I do feel they can still clean up 4 months, you know, out to launch. But the fact that their whole entire core, you know, weapon handling model, it just feels like crud. That's something that I don't know about. I don't know that they can refine that they can make that better. I mean, when you have to turn your sensitivity in a game all the way to maximum just to make it feel even slightly okay, that shows you that that area of the game just hasn't had the amount of attention that it deserves. My sensitivity while I was playing this beta was set to 100. 100! And I still feel like I'm swinging my gun through glue. Like I'm in an underwater world or something. I hate to talk so negatively about a game, but it's just like, I hope the developers listen. I hope the community is screaming at them like crazy. I'm going to go make a big post on the forums with a lot of this stuff. And, you know, maybe they can fix a lot of it. Maybe they can refine it. Maybe they can get somebody ASAP to start grinding on making a better weapon handling system. They can work on the recoil. They can work on the connection between the player engaging an enemy and pulling the trigger, because that just feels like crud right now too. I mean, there's really no feel that I'm shooting someone. I just feel like I'm spraying bullets across the screen and they happen to hit some guys in white suits. It's a first-person shooter. These things are all very important. I know I'm stressing that again and again, but that's really where my biggest flaws come with the game, because I think you could look past a lot of that, and you can see the goodness in the game. You can see the great ideas. You can see where they're going with this co-op. You know, a lot of the stuff I really dig. Like I said, I like the theme. I like the world. I feel like the world design's even all right, but it just... everything is so rough. The player's interaction with the world, driving across the terrain on the dirt bikes, walking across the terrain, mantling, climbing, it all feels awful. And we've got 4 months to launch. This is the way that I would expect a game to feel alpha state. Like proper alpha state. Like a year to 2 years out from the game's launch. Not 4 months. If you have a chance to play the Xbox One beta for yourself, do it. Of course, go ahead and play it and develop your own opinion on it. I think that'd be the best thing about it. I don't know that there's a group of people out there who even really wanted to see this game succeed anyways. It has nowhere near the same attention as something like The Division or Doom, obviously. It's something that I think has been put, you know, sort of, it's been put on the back burner for a lot of people as soon as they saw it. Like, no one has been really excessively interested in this game. I was, because I was hopeful that the developers could still make it happen. And I feel bad that I know so much of this game, so many of this game's issues have to do with just being, it just sat around. Like, there was probably 2 years where this game sat and no one was working on it because it was just sitting there waiting to find out what was going to happen to the rights to it. And that's the problem with the corporate aspect of game development, is like, it doesn't matter if that studio wants to work on the game. They can't work on that game until the publisher says they can. So Dambuster, you know, Crytek, whoever was working on it at one point, you know, they just had to sit there and stare at it until someone gave them a go-ahead. And now it's like, oh yeah, we want you to, in order for this game to meet budget, in order for us to make a profit on this, we need to at least get this game out by the middle of next year. I would love to see a delay for Homefront. I'd love to see them push it to the end of the year. Take as much time as you need and make it happen. But guess what? In the world of game development, time is money. And I can guarantee you they can't afford to spend any more money paying people to continue to work on this game. So it's going to launch May 20th, and it's going to bomb most likely. Maybe it'll have a small cult following, but I highly doubt it. And that really sucks. That really genuinely sucks. It sucks for the people who have spent countless hours of their life working on this game. And it sucks for a franchise with a really great theme and setting, and to know that it's never going to see its full potential. I highly doubt things will get put together by May 20th. If they do, I'll be shocked, I'll be surprised, I'll be the first to tell you about it. If you guys have been playing the beta, let me know your own thoughts on it. If you have any questions for me that I didn't answer in this video, feel free to throw them down in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next one.